Blossoms of Unity, Clara's Garden and the Johnsons. In the small town of Harmonyville, there was a community garden that had been a source of pride for generations. The garden was a lush oasis of vibrant colors and fragrant blooms, and it was tended to by a dedicated group of volunteers led by a woman named Clara. Clara was known throughout the town for her unwavering commitment to the garden. She spent countless hours planting, weeding and nurturing the plants, turning the garden into a cherished haven for all to enjoy. Her love for the garden was evident in every blossom that bloomed under her care. One summer, a new family moved to Harmonyville. The Johnsons, a family of 4, settled into their new home, which happened to be right next to the community garden. They were excited to be a part of such a close-knit community and admired the beautiful garden next door. As the days passed, the Johnsons noticed that the garden was in need of some maintenance. Weeds had begun to overtake the flower beds, and some of the plants looked withered from lack of water. Clara, despite her age, had been tirelessly working to keep up with the demands of the garden, but it had become too much for her to handle on her own. The Johnsons decided to approach Clara and offer their assistance. They introduced themselves and expressed their admiration for the garden. Clara, grateful for the help, gladly accepted their offer. She explained the history of the garden and the importance of its upkeep to the community. At first, the Johnsons were enthusiastic about their new endeavor. They joined Clara in the garden, eager to contribute. However, as the weeks went by, their enthusiasm began to wane. They found the work to be more demanding than they had anticipated, and the summer heat made the task even more challenging. Soon, the Johnsons began to skip days in the garden, citing various reasons for their absence. Clara noticed the decline in their commitment and felt a growing sense of disappointment. She had always believed that tending to the garden was a labor of love, and she couldn't understand why the Johnsons were not as dedicated as she was. One evening, tensions came to a head. Clara visited the garden to find it in disarray, with weeds running rampant and flowers wilting. She knew she had to confront the Johnsons about their lack of commitment. As she approached their house, she saw them lounging in their backyard, seemingly oblivious to the state of the garden. Clara took a deep breath and approached them with a mixture of frustration and sadness. She asked them why they had stopped helping with the garden, emphasizing its importance to the community. The Johnsons, feeling defensive, made excuses and shifted the blame onto Clara, claiming that she was too controlling and demanding. The conversation grew heated, and it became clear that a rift had formed between Clara and the Johnsons. The once harmonious relationship had deteriorated into a conflict that threatened to tear the community apart. In the midst of this turmoil, a town meeting was called to address the issue. The entire community gathered at the garden, uncertain of what would transpire. Clara, the Johnsons and the townsfolk were all present, each with their own perspective on the situation. As the meeting progressed, Clara spoke passionately about her love for the garden and her desire to see it thrive. She emphasized the importance of community and the idea that everyone should be willing to do their part. It was then that she uttered the words, "It is not fair to ask of others what you are not willing to do yourself." Her statement resonated with the townsfolk, and many nodded in agreement. It was a moment of clarity that brought the community together. The Johnsons, realizing the truth in Clara's words, expressed their willingness to make amends and return to the garden with a renewed commitment. In the end, the community garden was saved from the brink of neglect, and a valuable lesson was learned. Clara's wisdom had not only restored the beauty of the garden, but had also strengthened the bonds of community in Harmonyville. The Johnsons, inspired by Clara's dedication, became valued members of the garden's caretaking team, and together they cultivated a vibrant symbol of unity and shared responsibility for all to enjoy.